expect from a starting quarterback, what I would be looking for, what I think they're going to be asked to do, and how I parlay that with what I actually saw, I found him to be most impressive. You're getting influenced by Greeny. I mean, Greeny's a Jets fan. I just saw him. I usually do. Greeny about, 15 minutes ago said he wasn't going to hear our get-up of anyone other than Zach, the answer being Zach Wilson. Because he's a Jets fan. Stephen A. asked me, I say it was Daniel Jones, and he didn't play. So I'm a Giants fan. Daniel Jones, and Zach Wilson, based on what we were hearing out of camp and how he showed up, that's the greatest difference. He looked really good, and we were hearing he looked bad, and he looked really good. But if the question is just, which it is, who had the most impressive rookie quarterback debut? It's Justin Fields, and this ain't that hard. They all look good to me, by the way. Every single one of them, I was like, wow, these all look like real quarterbacks, but Justin Fields. Stephen A. early on backed up into his own territory. They don't really call much. They're super conservative. He doesn't do anything. That's fine. Then they take the handcuffs off. Oh, God. And I thought, after watching Zach Wilson tape, I thought, you know what? Yeah, you can draft him ahead of Justin Fields. But I was very high on Justin Fields, so I get Zach Wilson's talent. But Justin Fields was just making it happen with his arm, with his legs, with his brain. Remember that? Like, what about decision making? Was he taking sacks? Was he taking big hits? He was using his legs to get out of the way, to pick up yards. He's keeping his eyes downfield, completing great throws one after another. This is the modern quarterback. The guy who, it's not just enough to manage the game and have a good enough arm to make all the throws. Can you also make it happen? This is a guy who's going to be able to execute the game plan plus in a weekend where I was really blown away by the talent of all these young quarterbacks. Even the second-year quarterbacks, I thought, boy, there's a lot to like there. There's a lot to like there. But Justin Fields was the star of the weekend. He was the guy who
dope.
I think he's going to be ready to take the ball week
Finally used the portal right.
Immediate success.
First of all, I'm not sure about that. I believe in Justin Fields, and I know he's the future of the Chicago Bears, and props to them for ultimately grabbing him. And Dalton's not long for that job, fair enough. And it's good to see how Dalton was supportive of him over the weekend. That was a good thing to see. That's class from this point from a veteran quarterback. Having said all of that, I will remind you that when we looked at Zach Wilson,
in that round one, I don't know what the fuck was going on. But we got round one. That's for sure.
I mean, I looked at that. I looked at the 3rd and 14 that he converted as well. Again, these are the kind of things that you're looking at. When Justin Fields threw that one touchdown pass, that brother was so wide open that he threw it to, I mean, my Lord. He could have sat up there and ordered lunch, sat back and ate. You know what I'm saying? Went to the bathroom, came back out before catching the damn pass. That's how open he was, okay? So I look at it from that perspective. Again, I'm paying attention to what your competition is, the level of progress that you're under at a particular moment in time. I'm thinking about the fact that you sit up there and you're doing the kind of things that they're going to ask of you to do come regular season time. That's what I saw from Zach Wilson. I thought that Justin Fields, even though he definitely was right, even though he started off slow, came on strong as the game waned or what have you. I just look at Zach Wilson and I say, hey, when I think about a week one starting quarterback, that's what I expect to see, and that's what I saw from Zach Wilson. And that's all I'm saying. He certainly didn't have the throw that Trey Lance had. He didn't have the footwork that Justin Fields displayed. But dropping back to pass in that pocket, you sat up there and said to yourself, this was contradicting what we were seeing in the headlines leading up to that first preseason game. What they're saying about Zach Wilson, and I was impressed.
That he did, and also you could just say the eyeball test. When he threw the ball, was there something extra on it? Was there a little extra mustard? Did he have that arm talent
between the numbers?
No doubt. So Zach Wilson's the real deal to me. He showed arm talent. I agree with all that. But let's put it this way. If we knew nothing about these guys coming in, and we had watched this weekend and said, who do you think the number one overall pick was? I'd say Justin Fields.
Well, let me say this to you. Let me counter that.
He's going to start.
Let me counter that to get back to a point. If you recall, we didn't know much about Wilson at all.
That's right.
You came on the show and you acknowledged you had to go back and look him up because you're like, who is this guy that they're talking about? I haven't seen it. We're not watching BYU games or anything like that. That's not what we're doing. We didn't see him, okay? So
when we saw Justin Fields in the Big Ten. We saw Justin Fields leading Ohio State. We saw enough roles from him over the season and over the last 2 years or so where we said, yo, this brother's the real deal. And still, that Zach Wilson has leapfrogged him. So one guy we didn't know much about. All of a sudden, you watch Saturday night, you said, wait a minute here.
He's an NFL quarterback.
He's an NFL quarterback. Yep. He looks like one.
But Justin Fields, to me, looks like a superstar. That's what he looked like. He jumped off the screen.
I'm not saying Zach Wilson's going to be better than him. I'm not saying Zach Wilson's going to be better than him. I'm just saying what I saw Saturday night. Yeah. I saw what's going to be required of an NFL quarterback.
Now, I don't know who's going to be the best out of this group, but they got a lot of good players.
10 teams passed on field. We'll see how much regret there is. All right, Max, it's only week 1 of preseason football, but this is what we do here. So give me an overreaction.
You ready for this, Stephen? I was alive. I didn't know a lot about what was going on. I was 9, 10 years old, 1983. John Elway, Jim Kelly, Dan Marino. And I certainly knew what was going on when there was Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Ben Roethlisberger, right? Those were great drafts. I'm going to say this. Watching on Saturday, watching this weekend, these guys, I've never said this before, watching a preseason game number 1 ever. This has chance. This could be the greatest quarterback draft class of all time.
I don't know why. I just seen one of
the worst guy I saw, and this wasn't this weekend because because they played earlier, but Mac Jones was probably the least impressive guy I saw, and I would give him between a good and a very good. I think he's ready to play in the NFL right now. And that was number 5 on my list. Trevor Lawrence. He was taking sacks and everything, but I also know his pedigree. You can see his size, his athletic ability to zip on some of those throws. That one in particular, you go, that was one of the best throws of the weekend. And Trevor Lawrence, a lot of people disappointed. We just debated Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. And it's, they both look really good. I thought Fields looked spectacular. I thought Wilson looked much better than was advertised during camp. And then Trey Lance. Trey Lance is a freak of nature. And let's not forget, the thing that wowed people, the 2 guys in this draft class, where people were talking about their decision-making, speed was next level, was Mac Jones and Trey Lance. The reason Trey Lance got picked is because he's Mac Jones plus all this athletic ability. I can't remember ever seeing after 1 preseason game, Stephen A., 5 dudes who I think are all going to fall out in the NFL. All 5. This could be the greatest draft class for quarterbacks of all time.
Well, that's really stepping out there, Max. I mean, to say they could be. I mean, a lot of things could happen. I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
Hot enough.
Hot enough. Stephen A. Come on.
What'd you say, Molly?
Come on. He said the greatest quarterback class ever. Give him props. He went out on a limb.
Not hot enough, Molly.
I don't think he deserves props for that, Molly, because he used the word could. Now, if he said they would be, then that's a hot take. He said they could. You know what, Max? I mean, if I go to Hair Club for Men, my hairline might move 3 feet forward. I might have an afro. I mean, I don't know, Max. You know what I'm saying? I can't stay in the gym, Max.
I'm not using that word, Max.
I could lose 10, 15 more pounds, Max, and end up having an 8-pack. I mean, a lot they could happen, Max. But will they? I mean, I don't know. You might be right, or you might be wrong. I just don't know. So, all right, I'll give you credit for that. Well, Max, let me throw this by you, Max.
Yeah.
Let's look at this, okay? What about the class involving 2018? Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. What about that one?
Yeah, what about that? That's a very good class.
What about 2001? What about 2012? What about 2012? Now, I must confess, Max, there's a little caveat here. Because I actually am one of those people that is hoping that one day Andrew Luck decides to come out of retirement and play again. Because I love to be some Andrew Luck. I really did. I believe in him. I love it. I understand. But you had Andrew Luck. You still got Ryan Tannehill around. Okay? Russell Wilson. Okay, let's remember, he was picked in round 3. Kirk Cousins picked in round 4, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, I'm just saying, when you look, when I think about this class right here, you're talking about all 5, and you will be right. if all five, I mean, if we talking about Lance and Lawrence and Wilson and Justin Fields, I mean, my God, you got 4 of those brothers that show up and show out, you will be right, okay? And I can't definitively say that you're wrong, but what I would say is that if I had to bet my money, Max, if I had to bet my money, I'd say to you 2 to 3 of them are going to be elite. Well, and if 2 or 3 of them are going to be elite, then we got to take into account those other classes that we just mentioned and say it's comparable. So you identified exactly why I'm so excited about this class. I think all 5 guys are going to be real NFL quarterbacks, like franchise quarterbacks. 5. I don't remember that ever happening. And in terms of the heat on that take, Stephen A., I've never.
Round starts in 3, 2, 1. Takedown.
Before, after one preseason game, felt this way. Have you? I've never. None of those classes, and some of them are very good. Come on, Max. You know the answer to that question. In reality, you know I don't give a damn. You know how I am about preseason games. You know me. I get it. I'm just saying, you know I don't get caught up in it, so it means nothing to me. I mean, I'm answering your question. I'm showing you the respect, and I don't knock you for what you're saying in all seriousness. But preseason games mean nothing to me. I mean, it's like I just watched the first couple of drives from the quarterback. Well, I watched them for as long as they stand. I always make sure I have a bowl of cereal while I'm doing it, even though I refrained from that this weekend. I actually ate a bowl of oatmeal. I was eating a bowl of oatmeal while I was watching. That's good. What'd you put? Hold on, wait. What'd you put in the oatmeal? What'd you put in the oatmeal? Blueberries and bananas. You got it.
Wow.
Blueberries and bananas. You got it. By the way, Molly.
Did you put milk in or non-dairy milk? What happened there?
No milk, Molly. No milk. I did the rice milk. I did the rice milk.
Wow.
A little sugar, a little almond.
More fiber intake. How do you feel with the oatmeal? I eat that every day for breakfast.
Do you not see how good I look right now?
I mean, it's like ridiculous. It's like blinding
I'm trying to work it out.
I can't even stop looking at you and getting
I'm going this way. I mean, it's
I know.
I'm crawling.
You're like J-Lo. You're like
How the fuck did they make that?
Like Jennifer Lopez. You just keep getting better. I'm trying to get in that club with you.
It's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful. A little cinnamon helps with that too. Listen,
Cinnamon. Yeah.
Banana, cinnamon, banana, and I'll tell you what else.
Hold on. We got another announcement for that RBU.
Want to pursue higher
That RBU card.
No problem. Sophia's monthly subscription can...
Blue.
3, 2, 1. Takedown.
Shut up! I got TNT for this kind of drama. I'll bulldog shit. No Casablanca. I said I'll bulldog shit. No Casablanca. Them brains are red like this never when I pop a chopper. Cause he tried to hoot a kid, KO Ray, but got the waka flocka. Block. You know, all dead when I fucked the kid. I put 3 birds with a stick. Now I'm hustle man. You bloggers better show some respect when you speak in my name. 2-1. You about to lose all 3 of them things. Zion Gazer, say that another motherfucker. Your mother tapping that waterfalls like a motherfucker. Bendy, I'll uppercut you. You swinging on the inside, I'll double dutch you. I'm gonna come to minimum wage next. So fucking to every nigga in the pain, nigga. Don't play with you. I hope that you go to a cake with you. If everybody in the room, mate, this gon' stay with you.
Come on, man. That's a decent battle. That ain't nothing special. Overhead versus B Magic. You know. Overhead 30-30. If he don't lose his fucking voice, he'll get a 30 for overhead.
Yes, if I were to come out today and after one preseason game, which you admit you don't put much stock in, were to say this will be the greatest quarterback draft class ever, that'd be the scorchingest hot take of all time. That's right. Sorry, I can't deliver that one because there's just not a big enough sample size. It's one preseason game. Some of these guys are playing against second and third stringers.
but I've never in my life felt like this before.
Max.
I've never felt like this before, watching and thinking, there are five studs in this class. Like, it's difficult for me to think that Justin Fields won't be a star. I think he's going to be a star. Trey Lance, I think, is going to be a star, and he's with Shanahan. Trevor Lawrence has people disappointed today.
How the fuck did that nigga not die, bro? Like, come on, man. Like,
this season,
bro.
Let alone going forward. My biggest question mark, and Zach Wilson, I believe it, is Mac Jones. Because in this day and age, if you are not mobile, boy, you better be.
That was fucking
in all these other areas.
God damn.
At least really good. And who believed in him? Nick Saban and Bill Belichick. And he's at least really good. Five dudes.
I would remind you there are former picks like Jamarcus Russell and Jeff George and Ryan Leaf. We wish them nothing but the best. We hope that their lives are prosperous and they're moving forward. But as football players that were picked in the top, in the top 2 or the top 5, Marcus Russell #1, Ryan Leaf was #2. I forgot what Jeff George was. Even though they had all the talent in the world, didn't end up reaching fruition. So I don't get caught up in preseason games. I got to make sure it's the regular season games, games that actually count. And I have to see what you actually do over
I don't like this. Why is this stupid? I don't like some of these games.
You came up with alternatives to the 83 class and the Big Ben and Eli and Phillip Rivers class. You brought up
I guess if you want to take my homies,
classes that went 3-4 deep, 3-4-ish. I agree. Those are good polls. And by the way, this one might go 5.
Okay, don't let it dim your light.
That's I don't know what that damn color is. I know it looks like dark orange in the middle. I don't know what this is outline, but it looks good.
A little color blocking. I'm trying. You know what, Stephen A? Pretty soon I'm going to do some fall shopping. It's no tax week here, so you let me know when you're ready. I'm happy to go shopping with you again. You let me know.
Virtually.
Well, no, I'm serious. You let me know when you're back in New York.
Years ago.
We'll
Why
go.
wait till he gets to New York? He can just FaceTime from Rodeo Drive.
No.
They got all the stores
I
right there.
love playing stylist. It's fun for me. So when you're back in NY, Stephen A, let's do it.
I'll come back to New York to shop.
Yeah.
Molly know one thing. Molly know one
I
thing.
know exactly where we'll go to. Hey, I'm Molly Kara Rose, and you're listening to the First Take Podcast. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Say it with us, Blue Chew. So Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets have men combat all forms of ED. Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy, and it's shipped right to your door in a discreet package. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. Don't like swallowing pills? No problem here. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and they prepare and ship direct, so it's cheaper than a pharmacy.
We're just with Target.
Special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free and use our promo code TAKE at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code TAKE to receive your first month free.
Football is almost here, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports. As the season's quickly approaching, DraftKings is your one-stop shop to make it.
I let that nigga eat that damn bullet like that head shot easy, man. I know that. God damn, come on, man. That head went like that.
Free shot at $1 million during week 1. If you haven't tried DraftKings yet, preseason is the perfect time to test your strategy. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Nothing adds to the excitement of watching a game quite like having a free shot at a huge cash and prizes. While you're perfecting your daily fantasy skills, don't forget to check out DraftKings free-to-play pools, where there's even more cash up for grabs. Head to the app now. Download the DraftKings app now and use code TAKE. For a limited time, new players can get a free shot at $1 million during week 1. Don't miss out on the action. Enter code TAKE to get a free shot at $1 million in prizes with your first deposit. That's code TAKE only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Chi-Town must be
Yeah.
Going 14 for 142 yards, 1 TD, 3 rushing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. And there were moments he looked like a rookie, but the first-round pick eventually settled down, caught fire after halftime. His speed, clearly a huge asset. Here he is, adjusting to that speed.
It was actually kind of slow, to be honest. I think, I was expecting it to be a little bit faster, but, practicing, game speed, going at it with my teammates every day. And, of course, we have a great defense, so me going against them every day, it definitely slowed the game up a little bit for me.
All right, former NFL linebacker Sam Hodge, former Bear, with us. Good to see you, sir. Stephen A., do you like Fields saying this?
I love it.
Bro, he just gave me
Listen, here's the deal. You're qualified to say it, not because you're certainly not because you're a rookie or anything, but when you have to go against that defense on a daily basis in practice, that's what he was really speaking to. That's where his confidence comes from. He wasn't somebody sticking out his chest saying, man, I'm Justin Fields, I'm from Ohio State. I was competing for national championships. I'm used to the big stage. This is who I am. That's not what he was saying. What he was saying was, look, I go against some elite brothers in practice who've been to this game quite a while, who know what the hell they're doing. And this is what they bring to the table. So going up against them on a daily basis with what they put me through, I'm incredibly confident in what I can do, because if I can do anything against them, I should be confident enough that I can do it against any defense in the National Football League. We got to remember how big time Chicago's defense has been throughout recent memory. Last year was an aberration because the offense was so putrid that the defense was constantly out on the field. Dudes weren't making plays. You had a level of frustration. We were wondering whether or not Matt Nagy was going to keep his job over pace because it was just too many question marks. You were constantly reminded that they had picked Mitchell Trubisky, moved up in the draft to get him, passed on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. We knew all of these things. And the city of Chicago, the fan base itself, obviously some dudes on the defensive side of the ball as well, although none ever spoke publicly to the crowd of offense. They were incredibly frustrated. And so last year was last year. This year, when you look at their skill positions, one would argue that they're more skilled than they've been. They've got quickness, they've got speed. For the most part, they're reliable. Even though you still got Tyreek Cohen, recovering from that ACL injury. So they're looking at their roster right now. Moody and Robinson and these boys, and they're saying they can do some things, even though Robinson had the day off Saturday. Which is why I'm not really keen on just throwing Justin Fields in there once the season begins, because they got to show that thing up. But basically, I took no offense to what he was saying. I didn't think it was some young kid talking out of his you-know-what. I thought it was a young kid saying, I'm going up against some big-time brothers on the defensive side of the ball in practice every single day. And they are the ones that are emboldening me and elevating my level of confidence because they're so good and they believe in me. And I have no problem with that.
Interesting take. I would say that first of all, I don't like it. And I want to tell you why. But before I tell you why I don't like it, I don't think, Stephen A., what you said, maybe, but this is how I heard it. Why did Justin Fields go 11? Why did he go 1-1 instead of 1? Because it was him and Trevor Lawrence, right? 1-1-A.
At the beginning,
and then all of a sudden it's 1-1. Why did he go 11? Well, what did we hear about Justin Fields? We did not hear this about Trevor Lawrence, not about Trey Lance. We did not hear this about Zach Wilson, and we certainly didn't hear it about Mac Jones. Doesn't process information quickly enough. That's what they said about Justin Fields. Well, but look at the completion percentage. Yeah, well, guys were wide open. When we studied the film, and that was the rap on Justin Fields. Meantime, the golden boy, Trevor Lawrence, had a hard time adjusting to the speed of the NFL. He was taking sacks because he couldn't process the information quickly enough. That wasn't Justin Fields. So I get him sticking out his chest and saying, actually, remember what you guys were saying about me? I'm processing that just fine. It's not going too fast for me. And what you said about the Bears' O-line, Stephen A., this is why neither Mitch Trubisky nor Nick Foles was the right quarterback. Mitch Trubisky could outrun the linebackers. He just couldn't throw the ball down the field accurately. Nick Foles, you give him a pocket, he'll step up and kill you. There's no pocket to be had, and he couldn't run away from the defenders. Justin Fields, he could outrun you. He could keep his eyes down the field, throw on the run, pick up first downs with his legs. What do you want him to do? That dude looked like a superstar. So for all those reasons, I get it. But I still don't like that he said it. Not preseason game 1. There is too much up ahead of him, in front of him still, just in preseason. And here's the thing about Justin Fields, and this is my only concern with Fields. The temptation will be to give him the ball right away. In fact, I think they should. He's so obviously excellent. Give him the ball. You guys are going to do great. One issue will be if he hits that rut, he hits the rookie wall, and it always happens. If it gets to be a thing where they're thinking about taking the ball out of his head, that's the only thing that can get in this guy's way. So anything he gives that's fodder for any of that, I don't like it. Not right now. Yeah, Max, I have no issues whatsoever with what Justin Fields said, because it's true. Right, the game was slow to him. People say, like, I remember when I first came to the NFL, they always say, man, the speed of the game, it's different. It's different than college. It's different than what you were used to. And Justin Fields heard the same thing, the speed. And then you turn on the film. Then you watch the game. You watch this guy out running DBs. Not only linebackers and D linemen, DBs. You watch him running, they marked him over 20 miles an hour. The faster than any other bear in the last 2 years. Mind you, the bear, you mean a bear and the animal there. Yeah, no, I mean, faster than actual animals, humans, it don't matter. You're going to faster than everybody, right? Mind you, they had Tariq Cohen on the team the last 2 years, Cordero Patterson the last 2 years. So it's actually physically fast. And then number 2, the whole point of processing information. That's fake news, right? All that was to try and get his draft stock lower so that a team could draft him. Justin Fields, ask Ryan Day and Matt Nagy. He knows Ryan Day. They played against each other in college. Awesome. But Justin Fields can process information just fine. I go back to that one of the first plays.
The blazing Big Daddy. The blazing Big Daddy.
He made it through off of his back foot. The receiver caught it. Phenomenal throw. Anticipation. So he's fast, number 1. So the game is slow to him from a physical standpoint. And then from a mental standpoint, from a processing standpoint, things move slow. Stephen A. to your point as well, he's going against a dominant defense. They've got Khalil Mack. They've got Smith. They've got Danny Trevathan. They've got Eddie Jackson. The way this defense back in 2018 was the number 1 defense in the NFL. The only reason that this defense dropped off was because of Chuck Pagano, not Vic Fangio. Chuck Pagano was an defensive coordinator, but you know who's the new defensive coordinator now?
I guess KFC.
It's a guy named Sean Desai.
Oh my God, bro.
It's for lack of better terms, it's a Vic Fangio disciple. I was with Desai for 4 years. I was with Vic for 4 years. So I was on that defense. The defense talking about what we're saying, man, the Bears were kind of struggling and frustrated. We were on the
They know how to deal with those spread offenses.
Yeah, I was there, right? I also live in Chicago.
I can't hear you.
I also live in Chicago. So I understand, man, it's a city. Chicago's a phenomenal city. It's phenomenal. You're in LA right now, Stephen A. I like the cold. I'll take the cold. Chicago's phenomenal. It's a beautiful city. From May to September. I mean, it ain't nothing better than that summer. But after that, the thing about it, Stephen A., and here's why I think Justin Fields in Chicago is perfect. Chicago's a city that when you're good, everyone loves you. That's the city falls and you become a hero. That's true. When you're bad, they boo you. So I came to Chicago, and all of a sudden, I was in Arizona for a bit. No one cared if I played great in Arizona. It didn't matter. Arizona Cardinals. No one cared if I was trash either. When I came to Chicago, the little plays became bigger. The big plays became magnificent and large. And so that's why I decided to stay. But even with Justin Fields, that's why the entire community, all the fans are excited about Justin Fields. They have not seen a quarterback like this in Chicago ever. Chicago's never had a good quarterback ever. I got you. Max has said that on numerous occasions. He's right about that. We lean on Jim McMahon entirely too much when it comes to that. But Sam, I'll ask you this question. Because when you look at Nagy and Ryan Pace, obviously you passed up on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes to move up to get Mitchell Trubisky. You brought Nick Foles there. That hasn't exactly worked out. I mean, Nick Foles is on the roster and literally politicking to the Indianapolis Colts to come get him. I mean, that's what he did last week, about a week and a half ago or so, okay? So as we sit here and we talk about Fields, I have a 2-part question for you. A, what kind of pressure is on Nagy and Pace? And B, because of that pressure that we both know exists, because Chicago they've already made it very, very clear they ain't pleased with what the hell they've been seeing, okay? With that being said, do you put him in week 1? Or do you exercise a little caution
and say, let's give him a few weeks to make sure he masters this and buy some time to buffer our offensive line so we don't throw our rookie star to the wolves. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. The answer is that you wait. You do not put Justin Fields in week 1. And here's why. Think about this. When you're a rookie quarterback, when you're a rookie at anything, it takes time to learn. And I believe Justin Fields is actually ready. But there's a risk versus a reward. First of all, let me point to your question about pressure. The pressure in Chicago. My last year in Chicago was Matt Nagy's first year in Chicago. The year before we drafted Mitch Trubisky, there was pressure. The fans were booing when Mitch wasn't doing well. Mind you, they were cheering when he first got in because Mike Glennon was the quarterback. So there's pressure there. The last 2 years, 8-8 last year, 8-8 the year before, 1 year playoffs, 1 year not. So there's been pressure because the Bears haven't performed. But by trading up to number 11 and drafting Justin Fields, both Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace bought themselves a few extra years to alleviate some of that pressure. The answer to alleviating the pressure isn't putting Justin Fields in right now. No. The answer to alleviating some of that pressure is letting Andy Dalton and that defense and David Montgomery, that beast of a running back, go and allow you to win some games. You play the first 10 games of the season. You have a bye week right after that. And then, after 10 weeks, Justin Fields has practiced enough. He's played enough. He's ready. You bring in Justin Fields.
Did you say 10 weeks?
I said 10 weeks.
That's crazy.
I said 10 weeks. It's not
That's
crazy.
I was with you until you said 10
Want to know why? You want to know why, Stephen A? You want to know why it's not crazy? Because that same defense that you were talking about at the top of this block, that same defense is back, Stephen A. You saw the game. It's not the 15. Andy Dalton can keep him in the hunt. I'm saying that Darnell Mooney, I'm saying that Marquise Goodwin, I'm saying that David Montgomery, I'm saying that they signed Jason Peters to get their offensive line.
I'd like to answer Stephen A's question because I think I'll agree it is a good one. The pressure here is on the coach and the front office, right? That's what it would seem like. But let me just say this. I think it's bigger than that. This is huge. This is why I was stumping for the Bears to trade up and grab Justin Fields weeks before they did. And I thought he may fall below 11 even from what I was hearing. But this is a cultural thing in America that the Chicago Bears are an iconic franchise. The greatest team of all time is considered. The 85 Bears. That's what it means. The 85 Bears means greatest team of all time. As much as any team in any sport means that. 85 Bears.
I respectfully disagree with that.
Who's the greatest team of all time?
I don't think that they were the greatest team.
What they're talking
They had arguably the greatest defense.
Okay, but
you yourself just sat up there and said their best quarterback.
that in baseball. What I'm saying is the 85 Bears mean that. That's what the brand means. They're branded that way. And it's the only Super Bowl, right? Like, it's since then nothing. And I think about that SNL skit back in the 80s, the Bears, right? Like, the Chicago Bulls were winning the championship every year, but it was still the Bears. That's how football obsessed they are. And they've never gotten a quarterback right since then. You're talking about 35 plus years, you've never gotten a quarterback position right. The franchise finally does what they have to do. It looks like they got it right. Forget about whose job is online, anything else. They can't mess this up. Whatever week it is, one, and by the way, he's QB1 now. He's the best quarterback on the roster. But when they give him the ball, I don't care if it's week 16 or year 2. What they have to know is we are never going to have to take this ball out of his hands. It's his forever.
We gotta go,
Thank you for that dissertation. But no way in hell should he be waiting until week 10, Sam. Not week 10. Max's point is why you wait, Stephen A. You want the next 10 years, 20, not the next...
Gentlemen, I love the passion. Hey, I'm Molly Karen Rose, and you're listening to the First Take Podcast. Tired after lunch? Yeah, you're not alone. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit the wall after lunch. Let a 5-hour energy shot help you leap over that wall instead of crashing into it. With zero sugar in a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, cherry, peach mango, and more. There's a flavor for everyone. Try them all. On this site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You can choose the flavors, and it's delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, that gets a 5-Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code TAKE to receive 10% off your order. This offer is only valid through September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know it's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
All right, guys, all week long we'll be counting down Stephen A. and Max's top 5 players with the most pressure on them heading into the season. Today we're at number 5. Stephen A. Look how handsome you both look. Look at those headshots. Stephen A. has Lamar Jackson. Max has Baker Mayfield. And Max, you got Baker, who took the Browns to the playoffs last year without Odell Beckham Jr. So now that Odell Beckham is back, is he the quarterback that's under the most pressure? Non-quarterback, excuse me, sorry.
Yes, easily. Let me put it this way. How many non-quarterbacks in the NFL community that we are looking to hold responsible if their team doesn't make the playoffs? So as you mentioned, Molly, they made the playoffs without Odell Beckham Jr. And Stephen A., I have it on good authority that there was, what was obvious to the naked eye, there was a chemistry issue with Odell Beckham Jr. and Baker Mayfield. And you and I were discussing this, I don't know, about a year ago or so.
Yeah, because I was told that.
Yeah, same. That Odell would be better off somewhere else. Now, here's the thing. Odell Beckham is not a guy who's going to say, I need the ball, right? If, because they're bracketing him, because they're putting 2 guys on him, whatever it is, other guys are open, and that's being taken advantage of. He starts chirping, like, wait a minute, I'm not getting the ball, and we're losing? Hold on, I thought I'm not getting the ball, someone else is open, get him the ball. But Stephen A., he'll be 29, he's turning 29 this season. It ain't cute anymore, right? Like, his prime is fast, and the way it's already gone. Not that long ago, it was always mentioned, he and Antonio Brown and Julio Jones, 3 best wide receivers in the game. He still mentioned that. Now, coming off an 11-win season where they go to the playoffs, and we saw Baker Mayfield blossom without Odell on the field, he knows he has to fit in. He has to ball out. He's part of, and not only that, but more than that, more than any other non-quarterback, he will be looked at if his team regresses. If this turns out to be a 9-8, 8-9 team after they win 11 without him, everyone's going to be looking at Odell Beckham Jr. There is no pressure greater on any non-quarterback in the NFL this season than on Odell.
In regards to non-quarterbacks, I think your take is utterly ridiculous. Because there's no way in hell that anything happens in Cleveland and we ain't looking at Baker Mayfield. There is no way in hell. And by the way, if Odell Beckham Jr., no matter how he acts, if that's not handled, there's two names that's going to come up more than Odell. It's going to be Baker Mayfield and it's going to be Kevin Stefanski. Because Baker Mayfield, you listen, you got your progressive commercials and you finally validated that Miami wins the commercials. Okay? Kevin Stefanski is clearly a coach that knows what the hell he's doing and deserves props for that. We get all of that. It's going to be an expectation that no matter what comes to the table, they can handle it. So I think you're utterly wrong. Here's where I'm going with it, and you might retort by saying my take is utterly ridiculous. I'm going to go with Ezekiel Elliott. That's the name that comes to my mind. This is a brother right here that, with the exception of the suspended season, where he was suspended for the 6 games, with the exception of that season, where he had 242 carries in the 10 games that he played because he wasn't allowed to play the other 6. Ezekiel Elliott, with the exception of that season, has had 322, 304, and 301 carries before last year. Last year, in the 15 games he played, he had 244 carries. He averaged 4 yards a carry as opposed to 4.5 yards a carry the year before, or 4.7 yards per carry the year before that. But the bottom line is this. When Ezekiel Elliott is that stud we know him to be, the Dallas Cowboys offense flows. They are something to behold. We look at Dak Prescott, he looks a little better. The receivers, whether it's Cooper, Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, whatever, they look better, okay? And so what I'm saying to you is that when you think about the Cowboys and the fact that you're America's team, you're the brand, you're the franchise worth over $5 billion, okay? You're the one that plays in Jerry World. You're the one with the most popular owner in the sport. You're the one with the star in the helmet in midfield. You're the one with the cheerleaders. You're the one playing in $1 billion playpen. You're the one with those disgusting, nauseating fan base that gets on my last damn nerves. That's you guys. And you got a quarterback that just got what was it, 160 million hours? I mean, I'm sorry. I got news for you. I look at it from this perspective. If you are Ezekiel Elliott and you're not getting it done, the spotlight is going to be on you and the Cowboys in a way that pretty much no other team in the National Football League have to concern themselves with. And that microscopic lens that's going to be placed on you, you're going to highlight it. We'll be able to write off Odell because of Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski. Even with Dak, even with Mike McCarthy, Ezekiel Elliott don't show up, everybody going to be like, yo, what's up with him?
No, that's completely wrong. The Cleveland Browns last year had Stefanski and everybody you're talking about it. You know what they did? They won 11 games. And you know how they did it? They beat the Steelers on the Big Brother on the last day of the season. And you know what else they did? They beat the Steelers in the playoffs to advance. And you know what else? When they finally got knocked out, it was by the Kansas City freaking Chiefs by 1 score. They are trending in the right direction. It was all without Odell Beckham Jr. Now Odell comes back. Now, compare that to the Cowboys. Who's everyone actually looking at on the Cowboys right now? Dak. He's been the story. Know who else? The O-line's coming back healthy. Know who else? The three-headed monster receiver, Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Gallup. That's what we're looking at. And Ezekiel Elliott, we see he lost weight. He should be better. It's not that there's no pressure on him.
Hey, I'm Molly Rose, and you're listening to the First Take Podcast. At CarMax, you can get an online offer for your car in 2 minutes. These are real offers, not estimates. Each offer is good for 7 days, so you can shop around and think it over. Just enter your license plate, answer a few simple questions, and get your offer in an instant. CarMax will buy your car even if you don't buy theirs. If it's time to sell your car, get on the fast track with an instant offer from CarMax. Just answer a few simple questions at CarMax.com and you'll get a real offer in no time flat. From CarMax, real offers, real fast.
Tuesday at 7 Eastern.
for your season. And we'll be a part of it as well. Looking forward to that. All right, Saturday's game against the Texans marked Jordan Love's first NFL preseason game because the 2020 preseason was canceled because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The last he played in a game of any kind was the Senior Bowl. Love led one scoring drive but managed only one first down in his other 6 series. In all, he went 12 of 17 for 122 yards, 1 touchdown, and a lost fumble. Love said he felt a strain around his right arm and shoulder after a sack fumble late in the second. Unfortunately, his preseason reps may be cut short. An MRI on Love's right shoulder came back clean, but a source told Adam Schefter, Packers coach Matt LaFleur, said Sunday that Love's status for practice this week for this preseason game number 2 is uncertain. It's Saturday against the Jets. Stephen A., and what you did see, I understand it's a very small sample size, especially with everything I've just highlighted. Did Love look like Aaron Rodgers' successor?
I mean, well, what is that? I mean, a successor is somebody that just comes in after you. It doesn't mean they're comparable to you. I mean, I certainly didn't see that. Listen, it was nice screen pass. Then he threw for a touchdown. And then I'm looking at, what is it? This is like, he connected on passes of 34, 8, 10, 15, and 222 yards pass on one drive. So he looked absolutely great in that regard. Finished 12 of 17 for 122 yards with a TD. And this is not anything that's shabby. You give credit where credit is due. I feel sorry for the kid because he didn't ask to be in this situation. Drafted in the first round, albeit controversially. Obviously, as Aaron Rodgers' successor, and then Aaron Rodgers comes back, chip on his shoulder, has an MVP caliber season, etc., until let him know, hey, listen, I'm not finished yet. I still got a lot more left. And then obviously the offseason entailed what it entailed, and that left a young guy like Jordan Love in the unenviable position of really having to show us more than a guy in his position should have to show us at this particular moment in time. But the Green Bay Packers have handled the situation so badly, it's added a lot of pressure to him. Nevertheless, I thought he performed well. Can't take anything away from it. Got off to a slow start, but ultimately came on, and that we understand it. I liked him. I liked what I saw. You say success in Aaron Rodgers. As far as I'm concerned, there is no success in Aaron Rodgers. Okay? He's a bad man. And him, this is levels to this. And he's just on an entirely different level. And I would never put that on Jordan Love's shoulders because it ain't going to happen.
He is not the successor to Aaron Rodgers the way Aaron Rodgers was the successor to Brett Favre.
Correct.
That I agree with. I don't think he will be on a Favre-Rodgers level. The odds that they would come up with another guy like that are almost zero. Those are two of the greatest quarterbacks who ever lived. The question for me is, could he be a successor? Did he look like a successor? Because he ain't going to play this year. Is by next year at the earliest, do I think Jordan Love can get and keep the job as the starting quarterback for a winning team in Green Bay? To me, that's a successor. And the answer was yes. You know, part of my excitement this weekend, Stephen A., was not just that I think this rookie quarterback class might be the best class ever. All 5 guys looked, at least even Trevor Lawrence, but they all looked like, yeah, that guy's a stud to me. Look, that's what they look like. The second-year players, too. When you look at Jalen Hurts and Tua and Jordan Love. Jordan Love, like Justin Fields, started out slowly. Maybe things are happening fast. Maybe field positions are not great. And so, you know, coach is not going to call the most elaborate plays and stuff like that. But as the game progressed, he looked increasingly comfortable and like a real NFL starting quarterback to me. And that's with an offense that couldn't get stuff started on the ground. That really hampers what a quarterback's going to look like. And yet, to me, he looked pretty good. Would I say the Packers would have a winning record if they gave him the ball this year? I don't think so. I don't know. But by next year, can that guy be a guy who gets and keeps the job for a winning team going into the future? Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out based on what I saw. And nowadays in the NFL, one of the reasons, Stephen A., I'd be upset if I drafted Dwayne Haskins as a Giants fan. Daniel Jones has been fine, but I'm like, come on, really? Is that there's so much talent coming out at quarterback that the second year guys all to me look like potentially good NFL starters, and that includes Jordan Love.
All right, let's get Green Bay Packers. So Packers GM Brian Gutekunst said that he's had no discussions involving a Clay Matthews reunion in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers posted on his IG story a picture of Matthews with the caption, "Bring him back." Randall Cobb and David Bakhtiari also shared photos of Matthews. Then our Rob Demovsky, he tweeted this: "I have no idea what Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb were doing with their IG posts about bringing back Clay Matthews the other day, but GM Brian Gutekunst said, we've had no discussions about that." Stephen A.?
You know how supportive I've been of Aaron Rodgers and all of this. You know how I feel about how the Green Bay Packers organization has treated him. You know, I wish that he wasn't backed out. I wish that he had departed because they don't deserve him. But in this particular instance, I'm going to have to come to the defense of Gutekunst and the Green Bay Packers. If what Gutekunst said is true, Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb have no business doing that. They're not the general manager of the team. You said that you wanted some say, etc., etc. He's right there at the facilities. You can go into his office. To go on Instagram or Twitter or wherever that was, and to be rallying for a player, you know, to be brought on the squad, it's kind of unprofessional. And, you know, it's really, really disregarding Brian Gutekunst in a very, very public fashion. And I don't think that that's something that Aaron Rodgers needs to be doing. If Aaron Rodgers, if you have no access to Brian Gutekunst, that you know, that would be another thing entirely. But we all know that's not the case. If Aaron Rodgers wanted to go into his office and, you know, basically make a case for a player to be brought back, he can do that without handling it that way. Because I think that what you're trying to do is bring attention to a situation you want addressed, and you're doing it in a fashion that can lead to some level of embarrassment or at least some question marks about Brian Gutekunst. And I think in this particular instance, as it pertains to a player not even being on a roster, I just think it's unfair. I don't think he should be doing that.
What if that's the point? You know, I don't think Brian Gutekunst has really gotten the message yet. If Aaron Rodgers does something like that, watch this. I'll be Brian Gutekunst. This is what I'm saying. Someone brings it to me. Instead of we've had no discussions about that. Here, how about this for a statement? Look, I'm the GM. I've made that very clear, and I'll make the decisions about this stuff. However, I want to be very clear. Aaron Rodgers is going to have input. It doesn't mean we're going to do everything he wants to do, but he's absolutely going to have input, and I'm going to take it very seriously. So if this was, in fact, Stephen A. the first he was hearing about it, then I would say, this is the first I'm hearing about it. But if that's the way Aaron feels, and he just posted it, he and I are going to talk about it, and I want to see what he's thinking. You have, Brian Gutekunst, 1 year to change Aaron Rodgers' mind. That's what we're dealing with. You must change his mind. And maybe his mind is set in stone. There's no way to change it. That's not really what I've been hearing from him, actually. I think if you asked Aaron Rodgers to handicap it, he'd be like, yeah, I'm out of here. That's my feeling, based on what I'm hearing and what's been reported and what Aaron Rodgers has said publicly. But Aaron Rodgers seems like an open-minded, kind of intellectually curious kind of person to me. And I think that if Brian Gutekunst was to start to demonstrate, I got it, I get it, then instead of, well, we haven't had any discussions, just say, I will make the call about this. We haven't, but if Aaron is tweeting this, then he must think this. But I assume that he's interested, and I want to hear his explanation because he will. I want to hear from him. You have to show him that.
Max,
maybe Aaron Rodgers is fishing for that here.
No, it's a great point because even if you disagree with the message, I understand what you're saying, that he could deliver it differently and finesse it a little bit, and he seems to be bullish not to. I know we just got a short quote, but there's none of that. He's just flat out saying that didn't happen. And I think there is a way to say it a little bit more gently, and it doesn't seem to be something he's willing to give on.
In a way that shows that you've received the message, that you're taking it seriously.
Or you're on the same team, right?
Yeah, that you value the guy's opinion, even when he's being provocative. If he's provoking, use that as an opportunity to show, wait, it doesn't have to be the way it's always been around here.
Yeah, be the bigger person. Hey, I'm Molly Karen Rose, and you're listening to the First Take Podcast. Tired after lunch? Yeah, you're not alone. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit the wall after lunch. Let a 5-hour energy nap leap over that wall instead of crashing into it. With zero sugar in a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, cherry, peach mango, and more. There's a flavor for everyone. Try them all. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You can choose the flavors and it's delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, that gets the 5-Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code TAPE to receive 10% off your order. This offer is only valid through September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. It's the end of an era in LA for the Clippers, at least over the weekend. They traded longtime point guard Patrick Beverley to the Grizzlies for Eric Bledsoe, who's headed back to the team that drafted him. Also going to Memphis in the trade box on Rondo, Daniel Arturo. The deal saves the Clippers $30 million in luxury tax and creates an $8.3 million traded player exception that they will have a year to lose. Max Kellerman. Did the Clippers improve?
They did. And this is a good trade for the Clippers. You know how we say you don't want to trade, break $1 into 4 quarters in the NBA, but you want to turn 4 quarters into $1. This is more like 2 quarters into a 50-cent piece. Eric Bledsoe can attack the basket. You give up Patrick Beverley, he's a defender. Rondo, high basketball IQ, but Rondo's getting long in the tooth. Like, he really has been in decline. And we saw it even like playoff Rondo. When playoff Rondo doesn't show up, that tells you he's just getting older. And Patrick Beverley was never a dynamic offensive player, but he could play some defense and, give you that fan spirit. Bledsoe does the same thing. He can do defensively and even maybe be more disruptive defensively sometimes, based on his athletic ability. Than a guy, than what they've lost. And meantime, he's a player who can get to the basket and score. And they have shooting on the team, so Bledsoe's not a great shooter, but it's not as much of an issue. In fact, spacing may even help him attacking the basket. This is, and if the Clippers just got better because they got the best player in the deal.
Max, I disagree with you. It's not that I'm saying that Patrick Beverley is better than Eric Bledsoe, because I'm not. And I like Eric Bledsoe. He's not a scrub. He can play really strong as well, and he can put some points up, and I get that point. So, technically speaking, you're right about him being the better player. But I got to tell you, I'd rather have Patrick Beverley go postseason. And last time I checked, the Clippers are trying to win a championship. This is what it is. The Los Angeles Clippers, a legitimate argument can be made, should be standing here today as NBA champions. If Kawhi Leonard hadn't gone down near the end of the Utah series, a lot of people believe the Clippers would have beaten the Phoenix Suns. And I'm not ruling that out. Not with Kawhi and Paul George playing the way he was playing. With Kawhi averaging 30 or 57% shooting from the field, 39% from deep-point range before he went down. But then when you take into account, the energizer bunny that Patrick Beverley was, his ability to defend, and he actually was hitting some key, not in abundance, but he was hitting some key pivotal shots into the Utah series. Obviously, a couple of games against Phoenix. I just look at it from the standpoint that being the professional Hall of Fame pest that he is, somebody that doesn't just goes out there and plays, but really, really tries to get into your head. I don't see that in Eric Bledsoe. I see a guy that just goes out there and plays hard. He doesn't cheat you. He's got game. He can play. But he's not somebody that's an energizer bunny that provides that kind of spark. And I think there comes postseason time, particularly when you look at the Western Conference. I think those kind of intangibles are things that you need to get you over the hump. And I don't see that being Eric Bledsoe, which is why he was gone from Milwaukee and why they had no problems trading him for Drew Holiday. And ultimately, he was settled in New Orleans before, and ultimately Memphis before he ended up being back in Los Angeles with the Clippers. I think that Beverly is going to be a loss.
Hey, I'm Molly Rose, and you are listening to the First Take Podcast. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Say it with us, Blue Chew. So Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets have men combat all forms of ED. Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy, and it ships right to your door in a discreet package. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed providers. And once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. Don't like swallowing pills? No problem here. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and they prepare and ship direct, so it's cheaper than a pharmacy. And here's a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free and use our promo code TAKE at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code TAKE to receive your first month free. Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill continue to battle it out for the Saints starting job in the post-Drew Brees era. Both left a little to be desired Saturday, combining for 177 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Here's Coach Sean Payton on his QBs.
I'm not making any comparisons with the quarterbacks right now. It doesn't matter who really, with 6 turnovers, right? Look, I said to these guys, there's some things we're going to like on film. Like, I thought there's some things, I thought we played with some energy. I thought there's a handful of things we're going to like, but it's just going to be overshadowed, though, with those early mistakes. And, despite how you play in the kicking game, defensively, or even in snaps offensively, if that's what happens, it kind of just overshadows all of it,
Okay, Sam Macho back here with us. I'll get to you in just a second, Sam. Stephen A., I want to start with you. We were talking about Green Bay and the situation with how things were handled with Aaron Rodgers. Is Sean Payton to blame for the Saints quarterback conundrum?
Without question, so far. And the only reason I say that, listen, I say that out of profound respect for Sean Payton. This is a Super Bowl champion coach. This is somebody that's known as one of the brilliant offensive minds in the game. Max, if you'd like to go first, I don't mind. I don't want to step on anything if I've said. But I just want to tell you this. When you look at Sean Payton, listen, Sam, Max, it really is fair to say the only reason we care to know anything about Taysom Hill is because Sean Payton told us. If you really, really think about it, don't get me wrong, he started 4 games last year. He went 3-1. He looked really respectable in those performances, and that's not to take anything away from him. But considering how old he is, because he's over 30 years of age, he's never started. He's been in New Orleans throughout his career. He's played behind Drew Brees. We never paid any attention to Taysom Hill until Sean Payton told us this was somebody that was worth paying attention to. We saw him on special teams. We saw him in gimmicky plays and things of that nature. But that's all we saw from him until he was thrusted into the starting lineup last year once Drew Brees got hurt. And so because of that, we thought he was going to be the heir apparent, particularly since you had Jameis Winston in the lineup, but Sean Payton still elected to go to him. All right, well, fast forward to this year. Drew Brees is officially gone. He's retired. He's going to be in the NBC booth. We wish him nothing but the best. I think he'll do a great job. When it comes down to Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, and since Taysom Hill had gotten the ball over a guy who had started the previous 5 years in Tampa Bay, and Jameis Winston, albeit that last year he threw 30 interceptions to go with his 33 touchdowns, the fact remains that we looked at Taysom Hill and we said, okay, this must be the guy. And so when you come into this season and there's no decision that's been made, that Sean Payton is still undecided, his acumen for football, his knowledge, and his brilliance being an offensive mind, for him to not be in a place where he can definitively say, Taysom Hill is my guy, is an indictment against Taysom Hill. And I don't think there's any way to look at it. Because since that Sean Payton is the guy that said, this is the guy you should believe him, we should have expected him to be a bit more definitive about Taysom Hill. And if he's not more definitive about Taysom Hill, either Taysom has dropped off or Sean Payton was just wrong.
I can't put this all on Sean Payton. First of all, he's not the GM. Mickey Loomis, the coach is also responsible for drafting the quarterback and everything. Look, here's the bottom line. Here's the bottom line about Taysom Hill. You're right, Stephen A. Sean Payton told us in Miami a couple years ago, Taysom Hill is going to be he's going to be a good quarterback. He may or may not be wrong about that. Time will tell. Taysom Hill's kind of a miraculous athlete. He's known as a gadget player, but boy, those are some gadgets. I watched Odell Beckham Jr., for example, take batting practice at Citi Field, hit home run after a home run. See him throw a spiral with his left hand 50 yards. They see him kick a soccer ball. Like, Odell Beckham Jr. is one of the best. If the Martians came down and said, take us to your greatest athlete, you might take him to LeBron, you might take him to Odell. But Taysom Hill is kind of one of those guys. He runs a 4.5, 40. Like, he's a genuine running back. He can actually catch passes, and he can play quarterback according to Sean Payton. Now, can I see how a coach might fall in love with that guy and think he can maybe do that a little? Like, no one wants to make Odell a quarterback, even though he can throw the ball, right? Because it requires more than just throwing the ball. But he looked at Taysom Hill for a good long while and thought, I think he can do it. Now he's on the same team with Drew Brees. He didn't get the job before he was 30. That tells you that he ain't going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. But Sean Payton thinks he might be a quarterback, and he might be right. By the way, this is a copycat league. We were just talking earlier. Sam, you brought up like Fangio's disciples are everywhere, right? Just like Shanahan disciples are everywhere because things catch on in the NFL. It works. Can it not work with a Wildcat if you had Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara? Like that can't work, or at least part of an offensive package that could work. He ain't gonna replace Drew Brees as the next Drew Brees. But at the time, when it was either a getting more expensive Teddy Bridgewater or the unknown who he believed in Taysom Hill, he said, you know what, I don't think we're better off with Teddy Bridgewater and paying him than we are with Taysom Hill, who I think we can develop. And the jury is still out there. But even so, is he to blame that Taysom Hill is not Drew Brees? No. Are you sure that Taysom Hill can't be a successful NFL quarterback? I'm not. I haven't ruled that out yet.
Well, hold on for a second before Sam chimes in. Nobody's asking, I just want to take the one for clarification. Nobody's asking him to be Drew Brees. We're asking him to be the starting quarterback in this league because he might be. Well, because Sean Payton told us he is. So, if that's not going to be the case with Sean Payton still the coach of New Orleans, that's a problem. Say the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Well, I have a couple issues with some things that I've heard from both of you. So I'll start with Max, if you don't mind. Max, first of all, I don't think anyone on earth wants to hear Taysom Hill in the same conversation as Odell Beckham when it comes to being a phenomenal athlete or LeBron James. Like, let's just start there. Number one. Number two, some of the things that you named off that Taysom Hill does really, really well. He said he can catch the ball really well. He can cover kicks really well. Then you said he can play quarterback according to his coach. But according to the film, he can't play quarterback. Like, Taysom Hill is not a quarterback. He's a slash guy. He's a specialist. He's a receiver. He's a return man. He's not a quarterback. Now, we went
how is this nigga Sam OJ gonna say what he is? He wasn't even good.
He's not a quarterback. The reason that they won, I mean, let's just watch this. Just turn on a preseason game. Look at his interception. Like, good quarterbacks don't make interceptions like that. They just don't. They just don't. So quarterbacks make stupid passes all the time. That's not a stupid pass. That's like somebody who's a receiver trying to figure out how to play quarterback. Who's like a do-it-all guy trying to figure out how to play quarterback. That's not a quarterback. Number one. Number two, I look at like why they've been successful.
Why they be putting these people on TV, bro?
Sometimes success can be good for you, but sometimes it can hurt you. Sean Payton in the last 2 years is 8-1 without Drew Brees as his quarterback. So he's had success in 2019. Drew Brees missed 5 games. All of a sudden, Teddy Bridgewater 5-0. Right, last year, Drew Brees gets injured. All of a sudden, Taysom Hill 3-1. He won some games, but even last year, when we watched those games, like as a football player, football fan, no one was watching. This is to Stephen A's point, because you said, "Oh man, he was playing a little bit quarterback." No one's watching those games and saying, "Wow, this guy's our next quarterback." Like, I know Stephen A, you said, "Man, Sean Payton made us all believe that Taysom Hill was the next guy." No one, at least on the outside, at least people who know the game, believe that Taysom Hill is going to be a successful quarterback in the NFL. He's a good gadget guy, to Max's point. Like, he's a good gadget guy. Maybe you do some wildcat stuff. Maybe you have a package for him. But if you watch football, you're not thinking that Taysom Hill is going to lead this team to win the division.
Hold on, Sam. We'll defer to you. You played. We did it. I'm deferring. But when we say our expectations with Taysom Hill, just so for clarification, we're talking. Sean Payton came on the show and talked about Taysom Hill, and talked about
the same thing off camera.
So in other words, it's not me watching football trying to be Sam Ocho and thinking I know football like you do. Oh no, sir. This is me telling you, because and I've told Max this on many occasions. that's the danger about somebody like me as a reporter. You see, I get to sit back and listen to you. Yes, and that's what Sean Payton came and talked about. And then all of a sudden you had other players talking about. It's like, wait a minute now. Well, where's this guy? What you got? And so when we say, oh no, this was the expectation, we ain't saying we saw it from an analytical perspective. We're saying they came on here bloviating about that stuff. And it ain't true.
And that's why I believe that Sean Payton is at fault for this conundrum, for this mindset. And I agree with you to that point. Sean Payton is at fault because like, I think about the defense, right? They were a 6th-rate defense last year. Like, they have some dogs on defense. I think about Michael Thomas. Think about Alvin Kamara. Like, there are some weapons. So all of a sudden, I think what happened here, I think what we're all seeing here is a super confident, brilliant offensive mind in Sean Payton, who knows how to win games with no matter who else is back there. But he's also always had his backup plan in Drew Brees, who he knows in a couple weeks, Drew Brees will be healthy. For the last decade, Drew Brees has been the quarterback for that team. And so Sean Payton is at fault. And last thing, and I'll end here. Max, she made the point that Mickey Loomis is the GM, and, Sean Payton doesn't make the decisions. No. Sean Payton makes the decisions. And I know that. I tried. When I tore my pec, I tore my pec, was done, cut from the Bears. I tried out for the Saints. And there was an assistant GM on that team who said, hey, we really, really want you. But, who didn't want me? Sean Payton. You know why I didn't end up signing with the Saints? John shots. He calls all one shot. I want to say. It's his fault.
Sam, one thing I got to say, and you could say, however you get there, you get there. Like, technique is a means to an end. If you can achieve an end and the technique doesn't look perfect, you're doing it a different way. And I'll give Sean Payton a lot of the credit, etc. But Jameis Winston's a former number 1 overall pick. Yes, he threw 30 interceptions. He also threw 30 touchdowns, led the league in yards. Like, he has some talent, and he has not yet won that job. Okay? So Taysom Hill's doing something right. And let me just say, last year, he completed 73% of his passes. He attempted 121 passes. He threw for over 900 yards, which is over 200 yards a game. He went 3-1, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Now, does that sound like a star quarterback? No, it doesn't. Does that sound like Sean Payton scheming things up? Yes, it does. But it's a means to an end. They went 3-1. That happened.
Well, let me say this. It's important. First of all, let's understand something. When we use the word, because we're talking about the question of blame. First of all, no coach is perfect. Everybody makes decisions, and some things work, some things doesn't. So I'm not trying to. When I say blame, it's not like it's Sean Payton's fault and he's a bad guy or bad. The man is still a great coach, and for the most part, he's been a great decision maker. What we're highlighting here is that this guy that you may have believed in Taysom Hill, that you may still believe in, is being given a run for his money by Jameis Winston, which means one of two things. Jameis Winston has elevated his cachet since arriving in New Orleans and has now compromised Sean Payton's plan initially as it regards Taysom Hill. Or Taysom Hill has dropped off from what Sean Payton expected, and as a result, that's why he finds himself in this kind of quandary. It's one of the two, and if it's one of those two things, either Sean Payton misread Taysom Hill, or he miscalculated what his expectation should have been about Jameis Winston. It's not a crime. It happens all the time. We're just highlighting the fact that that's the reality right now.
Or maybe Sean Payton isn't as brilliant as he thinks. He's been able to do amazing things. He is one of the best offensive minds.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And then he said, man, I can do what Taysom Hill. Last year, 3-1, we can do it. All of a sudden, it's not just a week-by-week game plan. Max, the stats you named off, solid stats for a quarterback, but a lot of that is game plan. Watch the film, right? But think about a 17-game season. Think about Tampa Bay now runs this division. You can't beat Tampa Bay with Taysom Hill. But Sam, he's not talking about, but keep this in mind, fellas. He ain't talking about Taysom Hill that showed up in week 1, 2, or 4, or 5 and hasn't performed. He said that he's got questions before one preseason game was played, which means in training camp. Yes.
He's not seeing something. And I can't blame Sean. If that's the case, I don't know if we can just look at Sean Payton and stop there and say he may not be as brilliant as we thought. There's got to be something that happened.
I would just ask who is to blame, because Sean Payton has been believed. He's the decision maker. He has the final call. He's the one who came on the show and said, hey, man, this guy's great. This guy. So if it's not Sean Payton, if he didn't evaluate something wrong, guys, you're writing the epitaph before we have the evidence. Like, the bottom line is he was 3-1 last year. Let's see what happens this year. We saw a preseason game. We saw a preseason game.
For me, it feels like it's going to be James Winston.
Max, you're right. Unless Max, we start the season and Jameis Winston's the quarterback.
Yes, that's what I think. I think it's going to end up being Jameis.
For an overall pick who last clean threw 30 touchdowns. Like, you know,
last year was Sean Payton.
Exactly. Yeah, but right, you might lose out. You could lose out the competition to Jameis Winston. That's possible.
You know the expression, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. Football is almost here, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports. As the season's quickly approaching, DraftKings is your one-stop shop to make it rain all season long. To bring you even closer to the action, DraftKings is giving all new players a free shot at $1 million during Week 1. If you haven't tried DraftKings yet, preseason is the perfect time to test your strategy. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Nothing adds to the excitement of watching a game quite like having a free shot at huge cash and prizes. And while you're perfecting your daily fantasy skills, don't forget to check out DraftKings free play pools, where there's even more cash up for grabs. Head to the app now. Download the DraftKings app now and use code TAKE. For a limited time, new players can get a free shot at $1 million during Week 1. Don't miss out on the action. Enter code TAKE to get a free shot at $1 million in prizes with your first deposit. That's code TAKE only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know it's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
The number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, made his long-awaited NFL debut this weekend. It was an up-and-down game for Lawrence, who went 6 for 9 with 71 yards, but was sacked twice and fumbled once. Here's Lawrence on his first NFL action.
For sure. Yeah, and that's like anything, like the first play, you're a little bit, you know, especially first game here in the NFL, like you're a little bit nervous, but then after that, you're just playing ball. So definitely felt that setting in. Was feeling more comfortable. And like in these preseason games, it's just hard to get really the way we're doing it. So we're just trying to get looks, and you know, a lot of people playing and figure it out. So I think we're doing a good job. Obviously, we want to win the game. That's the goal. So we'll get better from that standpoint. But no, I thought the guys we played all the way through. I think everybody saw that.
All right, Stephen A., we've talked ad nauseum about how good Trevor Lawrence is and how much we expect of him in the NFL. So with that being said, was his debut disappointing to you?
You know, listen, it's hard for me to say. I wanted to see more. It's hard to say I expected more in the first preseason game. Held on to the ball a little bit too long. Got sacked, fumbled once, even though he recovered it. But I wasn't disappointed, but I wasn't overly impressed either. That's my way to answer that question. Thank you.
I was not disappointed by Trevor Lawrence. I thought, look, he started slow. Like a lot of these guys start slow. I think there's some nerves. Like a preseason game now is watched and analyzed. We're doing dissecting it in the middle of August, right, by so many people. There's some nerves. The speed, I'm sure, is different, the whole thing. But I saw him make throws that most other guys actually can't make. And it wasn't by accident. Sometimes you see a quarterback make throw. I guess, what you say, the dead clock is right twice a day. Sometimes that can happen with a quarterback. That wasn't Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence threaded the needle a couple times where you go, especially one on a 35-yard pass. It was reported 35. That was beautiful. In certain ways, the most impressive throw I saw from all the rookie quarterbacks. It was just, it was perfect. And he did that, and he had a couple other nice throws where you go, that's just not a normal quarterback. And then when you compare him to Gardner Minshew has been around. We know he's not a good starting quarterback, but if you have him as a backup, he's a competent NFL backup quarterback, and Trevor Lawrence was better than he was. The offense was better with Trevor Lawrence on the field. Is that clear? Now, look, the expectations for Trevor Lawrence couldn't be higher. We were debating this on the show the other day. Like, every quarterback comes with some weaknesses. Does Trevor Lawrence won a championship in college? Like, genuinely fast, 6'6", rocket arm, like laser precision, reads defenses, pedigree, the whole thing, not like just a one-year starter or something like that. Where's in the minus column? So I guess by his lofty standards, the opposite of Zach Wilson, we're hearing bad things out of camp, and we say, oh no, actually that's good. Trevor Lawrence maybe didn't live up to the hype in game one, but I can't say I was disappointed. I saw why he was drafted where he was, why we were so high on him to begin with. He's a very, very talented guy.
He's definitely talented. He's athletic. He's got some wheels on that. We can't underestimate that and how handy that'll come in for him as his NFL career progresses. He's got incredible height on him as well, because when you're 6'5", 6'6", you can look over opposing offensive and defensive lines to throw the football, and that's going to help him as well. I'm not sure about the weapons he'll have available to him to do some things. They were 1 of 15 last season for a reason. Obviously, the good news about that is there's no way to go but up. But I will tell you this, the level of scrutiny that he will have is compromised to some degree in this regard. Normally, we'll just look at him. Here's the issue. What you pretty much started off the show with, Max, and talking about those other quarterbacks, Zach Wilson and Justin Fields and these boys and Mac Jones and all of them are balling. Trey Lance, of course. Then obviously you're going to look at Trevor Lawrence and say, what's up? If you don't see some things from him, again, it's just one preseason game, nothing to write home about or whatever. But in the end, if other people are playing lights out, you're going to ask yourself, what's up, Trevor? What's up? At some point in time, if you continue to see an elevation in play from the other guys in this class.
Absolutely. Another topic I want to get to here, guys. Yesterday, we got a preview of how strictly the NFL plans on enforcing their taunting rule this season, as Colts running back Benny LeMay was flagged after carrying a pile of defenders for 10 yards max. Will enforcing the rule like this become a major problem?
Now let me take a page out of Stephen A's book. Please put the camera on me. I want to say this directly to Roger Goodell. Commissioner Roger Goodell, I beg you. We don't want to be sitting here talking about this is why the NFL is the no-fun league. It must seem to you, Commissioner, that everyone's taking gratuitous shots and it's just grist for the mill, and we like saying that. No, we love the NFL. We love football. We don't want to see this. Please reconsider that rule this year. That was a disaster. Any head coach would tell you, if you take 8 guys 14 yards, and you're amped up about it, just like the audience, just like your consumers are. We're all amped up about it. It was amazing. And you take 15 yards away, all that work to go 14, and because he's excited, 15 get taken away. That is a self-inflicted wound. That's an unforced error. Please, Roger Goodell, reconsider this before the season starts. This rule is a disaster.
Well, I completely and totally agree with you. I'll just say it to you in a different way. You know, see, guys that never played the game, trying to exercise control at every turn, is what annoys your personnel, is what annoys your talent, and turns them against you and make things a lot more acerbic and a bit troubling than it needs to be. The fact of the matter is that something like that is not a big deal. Now, they can go out there and stop them next time. That wasn't excessive by any stretch of the imagination. Plus, he's looking at the crowd and he's getting them hyped in. And this is just an example that there are far too many people, certainly not all, because some former players contribute to this, but there's far too many people that never played the game that are influencing rules of the game. And it's incredibly, incredibly annoying to people who have to go out there and perform and utilize certain things to hype them up all the time. And Max, I come from the days where, listen, you talked about the Chicago Bears, right? Remember the Super Bowl shuffle? Remember Icky? Was it Icky Woods? If I remember correctly, he was playing for Cincinnati when he was doing the dance. Remember Billy White Shoes Johnson?
I was gonna say White Shoes Johnson. Come on.
What about primetime Deion Sanders? Think about how demonstrative the great Michael Irvin was. The list goes on and on. You know, I mean, something is. Listen, when you look at guys, the one thing that the NFL doesn't appreciate, as far as I'm concerned, it's not just the game that made it popular with the fans. It's the personalities, too. When you sat up there and you watched primetime Deion Sanders prancing back and forth, you literally got hyped waiting for a kickoff or a punt return to come his way because he let it be known to everybody. He was looking to take it to the house all the time. If it were an interception, if it was a kickoff return, if it was a punt return, and the way he pranced back and forth, up the field, back and forth across the field, waiting for the ball to come his way. You had the crowd on their feet waiting for this stuff. Sports is theater. And too many people in this country have forgotten that. Sports is theater.
I think that's
personalities that come with it. You can't continue to sit up there and squash that stuff. It's what entertains us and thrills us.
I think that's a good point, but I want to make it related but somewhat different. Okay. I talk about this in boxing sometimes. When you see two professional fighters, and it's a pretty good fight and everything, but with all the options that people have today in entertainment, and you can time shift it, you can record it, it can be anything in the world that can entertain you. It's not enough just to do a competent job. What the audience is looking for is to be exhilarated. One of the reasons, huge reason, the NFL is so popular is because it's exhilarating. And whenever a player is exhilarating, that is contagious. We feel it too. If you make the kind of play football players, they say, and that running back made, it felt like Mark Navarro in Super Bowl 21. You take a bunch of guys for a ride, the will to win, the refusal to give up, to keep going, to fight for everything. The player is just as exhilarated as we are. That's why it's popular. You're asking him to not be a human being, but that human connection is why we watch sports. I beg Commissioner Goodell to rescind this rule, at least rethink.
Do we have time to show the TiVo play? Let's go. Let's pull up that TiVo play right now. Stephen A., is TiVo catching too much heat for this block attempt?
TiVo, he looks, my friend, I'm rooting for him. Happy birthday, by the way. He just turned 34 on Saturday. He looked like he couldn't block. That play, that right there wasn't a good look. And then on the ensuing play, he was just shoved right out of the way. Blocking, comfortable, playing the tight end position. And he doesn't seem up to the task right now. I'm sorry to say.
Dave, don't lie. He asked for this. He's going to be scrutinized as part of the territory.
We'll see you in the morning. Have a fabulous day, everybody.
Hill moved. Hill lost. Hill lost.
With another team that you want, but it's a little bit half speed, and you can't hit the quarterback, and you can't hit, and everybody's, the reason the fights break out is because somebody got a little loose, and moving a little too far and hit a little too hard.
And sometimes, Skipper, in the actual game, a situation won't arise that the coaches want. And so he was like, look, the next series, we're going 2 minutes. I'm like, hold on. Dude, that's the first quarter. Why the hell we going 2 minutes? He said, because you guys are going to come out, you're not going to be in much longer, and I want to see 2 minutes in an actual game situation.
Okay, I got it. So, Tim Tebow gets thrown into the fire against the third and fourth stringers, and something happens that probably wouldn't happen in practice. He's designated to block number 59, and he crashes down. Well, this is something you can't simulate in practice. It's crazy. And you're like, what do I do? Do I chip him a little bit, just try to move him on down the line? Do I give up on him to go to the second level? Well, Tebow's never been faced with that before because it was live action. Extemporaneous, crazy stuff happens that you need to experience under fire just to get your RPM back up to speed.
That's why I said I needed that. Because in practice, Skip, they're actually telling the guys, okay, here's one of the cards, okay, here's the card. This is what I want you to do. I want you to crash here. Safety, I want you to go there.
as you keep pointing out, Dak Prescott has not played a down of football since the 5th game of last season. It's going to be a long, long time, all the way to September 9th. He has not played football, and now he has a career-threatening ankle injury that we hope is going to be 95%. And now he's got an arm issue that once he cuts loose under fire with the lights on, will it hold up? Will it strain again? Will it tear? I don't know. He needs to figure this out for a quarter or so on this Saturday night at home. If they were opening up on the first Sunday of the NFL season at home against Cincinnati, no offense to Cincinnati, but other than Tampa, I'd say, okay, maybe you can figure that one out. You're at Tampa on a solo stage game on opening Thursday night against the defending champs. They are dropping the banner on your head in Tampa. It's the only game of the night. You're on stage, and they want to make a statement. It was no fluke what we did. Pack Stadium, we got fans in the stands. We got a defense that went to Drew Brees and went to Aaron Rodgers and did a number on Patrick Mahomes, and they said, we shut him down and him down and him down. And now Dak Prescott's getting thrown into that fire on a hot, sweaty summer night in Tampa.
Did you see how many guys Tampa already got in the top 100?
And we don't even know the top 50, right?
No, we beat down to 41. We got all with the 41.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're just that far.
Yes. So, but you figure they got like, I think they had like 6.
They had 6 so far, right?
With Tom to come, I believe they get Tom and maybe Gronk. I don't know if they get anybody else.
Was Mike Evans?
Yeah.
He was already in.
Mike and Chris Godwin, JPP, Shaq Barrett.
Shaq Barrett was way too low.
Yeah.
I thought he should have been much higher. But I'm going off the playoffs instead of last. He was a little quiet during the playoffs. But the point is, that defense came of age right before your very eyes. Todd Bowles' defense, and they are all back. And the secondary was very young. You don't think they're ready to breathe some fire on opening Thursday?
I don't know if y'all gonna have that many, because I saw Sonny Clark up there. I don't know if y'all gonna have anybody else, Skip.
On the top 100. Oh, in the top 100.
You think y'all gonna have anybody?
That's just motivation.
Tampa
earned it. We didn't earn it.
Okay, I'm just
I need nobody in the top.
Okay, I'm just checking. So you want Dak to give a series or 2 Saturday night against the Texans?
Like 3 or 4 series. Just so he's fine. He's got it. Just to get him back in the flow of real live action.
I mean, just sitting over here, listening to you. You sound worried. I've never heard you like
now. The irony is, I have to wait for tomorrow night's Hard Knocks to get my news, because I feel like they're the ones who are going to break the news. Maybe Dak will tell them that the MRI wasn't nearly as clean as the Cowboys said it was, because it seems like they're a little at odds over that.
So what do you think the chance he plays Saturday? Less than 50%?
You know what? If I had to bet on it, I would bet on your side of this. I'm just telling you what I need to see. I need to see him play, because then I'll know for sure the arm is okay. And then if he survived the 3 or 4 series, I would know for sure that the ankle's going to be okay.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think I would put him out there along with the starters, because I want to see those guys also.
So do I.
And get your spidey senses and get a feel for where guys are.
Yeah. I mean, how much can you protect Tyron Smith and Zach Martin and
Lyle Collins?
How long can you got to play him a little bit?
They got to play.
Yeah. Other coaches have different, like Andy Reid the other night, he was playing his defense. He's playing his starters for 3 series. Like he's just saying, we're going to play.
Right. Football players play. And who's to say that, we get in the preseason, get in the regular season game, you don't get hurt. But you can't put these guys in